off of work. Hope everybody had a wonderful Independence Day weekend. Didn't hold any Roman candles in your hand and shoot them off. We've heard those stories. Ronnie Rantz alongside Tommy Krysan. TK coming to us today, courtesy of Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. I'm over here at the beach. We'll give you a shot of what I'm looking at here in a minute. Inside at the moment, because a little some of the weather coming up, the hurricane coming up from the Atlantic. Some bands are kind of getting into the Gulf, and every once in a while we get a little bit of rain, but been beautiful over here at Perdido. Today on Sports Shorts Daily, presented by L'Auberge Casino, we'll talk some NBA Finals. The set, Bucks versus Suns. The ratings are going to be with no big time, New York, Chicago, LA, Miami, big time markets like that. Now, Phoenix is a big time market, but I would think the ratings would be a little bit down. If you're a Pelicans fan, you're going to want to know about, Chris Paul versus Doc Holliday. So who you're going to be pulling for there. We'll talk about that. Also, Jay Johnson's made some news. He signed an All-American, a freshman All-American who played for him in Arizona. Giant transfer. LSU baseball's lineup is going to be sick next year. You basically, if you lose Dugas, which is they kind of expect they will, you're basically replacing them with another Dugas. I mean, his numbers were even better, actually, than Dugas. He had 350 versus Dugas was hovering around 300 most of the year. But this guy had 17 homers where Dugas had 19 and that sort of thing. So, big time lineup and a lefty hitter at that. Nice, a lefty bat, which is nice to have. And to flip, so you can't get right-handed and dominated like they did a little bit at times last year. So we'll get into that. Also, some other things going on that we'll talk to as well around the world of sports. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts Daily, presented by L'Auberge Casino, this 4th of July, 5th of July edition, right after this.
Every great story starts with the rush of thrilling gaming action. Handcrafted flavors, eager to please. Getaways for some well-deserved me time. And rewards worth bragging about. If it's a story worth telling, it starts at L'Auberge Baton Rouge. What's your story?
What's your story?
Tommy Krysan joining us, courtesy of Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Happy 4th to you, TK. Do we have fireworks in the future? I mean, what does one do when they're 60 years old on 4th of July?
I listened to a lot of fireworks last night while laying in bed. That's how wild and crazy I was. But, of course, I'm in my office today, but Tremonti's is closed, back open Tuesday, regular hours. And, of course, got the Tremonti's banner behind me. But, yeah, 4th of July, I had a little bit of a head cold yesterday and kind of just laid around and watched a lot of baseball and played around on social media.
By the way, Craig Schilling asked if there's any video of Rantz karaoke closing down the Floribama. Haven't gotten there, Craig. It's been a family trip so far. We'll see. Maybe a little karaoke could be in the future before I leave the beach. That's always a real possibility. I don't know that I've ever, Tommy, been to a place that had karaoke and I was there and didn't sing a song. I'm sure it's happened. I just don't remember. I mean, I'm sure maybe they were backed up and they had too many singers and I couldn't get up in time and I didn't want to wait 2 hours or something like that. But I'm pretty sure every time I've ever been anywhere that had karaoke, I made my way to the DJ booth to at least turn in a ticket.
Well, if you go to Papa Rocco's, Smokey will be playing the music. You tell him I said you need to sing with him. He'll make, or Jan Gallo, they'll make it happen for you at Papa Rocco's. Now, that place gets a little crowded in the summertime, but if you tell Jan you want to sing, I'm telling you it'll happen.
Yeah, I need to look them up while I'm down here. No doubt about that. Papa Rocco's. Okay, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna take you up on that. I'll let you know if I end up that way.
I want video. We'll share it with Craig.
NBA final. A couple things we'll get to today. We'll talk about the NBA finals. We'll also talk, of course, about Chris Paul. And then Major League Baseball came out with its All Star Team. You'll be surprised who the only Tiger is that's in the All Star Team. Not one of the names you would think. But let's first talk NBA finals. And look, there's a local feel to it, right? I mean, that's kind of why we're into it. Chris Paul, who probably end up one day in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, who played his first 5-6 years in New Orleans with the Hornets. He's final in there at the age of 36, 37 years old. Drew Holliday, who was a great player for the Pelicans. Had they been a better team, he would have been probably a 3 or 4-time All-Star. But a guy was just a class act. Everybody kind of got behind him when his wife had cancer a few years ago, and he showed what kind of focus and heart and everything he had for his family. And the city really supported him. So you got two likable guys that are going against each other. And there's other New Orleans ties. I mean, Langston Galloway's from Baton Rouge. He's playing for the Suns as a backup guard. Went to Christian Life Academy in Baton Rouge, and we'll actually have him on Sports Church Radio this Saturday morning. He'll join us. And then, obviously Monty Williams, the coach for Phoenix. So there's a lot of, and other players as well. There's a lot of ties of players that have gone through New Orleans, of course, had to go elsewhere to make it to the finals.
Yeah, it's an interesting finals in a couple of ways. Not the big markets the NBA might want, but Phoenix hasn't been there since 1993 when Barkley and them lost to Jordan and the Bulls. The Bucks haven't been there since 1974 when they had a guy named Al Cindor playing, Jabbar playing center and Oscar Robertson playing guard. People watching this don't even know who those two guys are. So it's been a while. So I think that may create some interest that you're going to have a world champion that hasn't even been there in a long, long time, decades, as a matter of fact. And, for New Orleans NBA fans and Pelican fans, having Monty Williams and Drew Holiday and Chris Paul there, and then you mentioned Galloway, the Baton Rouge guy. I mean, maybe there'll be some interest. I don't know. Game 1 is Tuesday night out in Phoenix, so I'll probably glance at it. I'm not a big NBA guy, but for the finals, you got to kind of take a peek if you're a sports fan.
Yeah, you mentioned Lou Alcindor, who became Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he was a part of their one championship team in I think 71, Tommy, I believe, or
70 or 71.
70
yeah.
or 71, they won it with him, and then of course they lost it a few years later. Somebody said this, I forget who it was. That was Jerry West or somebody whose opinion really matters besides yours and mine. Said that the greatest, or maybe it was Bird, I don't know, the greatest shot was the sky hook from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like the most indefensible player, or the greatest, toughest guy to go against, if you will, was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the sky hook.
Well, and it amazes me, and I've said this for decades on the radio, TV, wherever I've been. Why has no other player mastered that shot? I mean, Lou Alcindor did it at UCLA. That's where it got going. And then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, it was 2 points. If he got that ball on that low block, he faked in and he turned to the baseline. It was put the points on the board. And I'm just, it's unblockable. I mean, I don't even know if Yao Ming could get up high enough to block it, maybe. But right. I'm just amazed that some player hasn't added that to their arsenal. Just like it's always, and it's been talked about this year, Rick Barry shot like 94% underhand, granny style, as they called it. Why has nobody else, tried that? It doesn't look good. It's not cool. I don't know. But the sky hook, for those of you, we always tell people this: go on Google, YouTube, and Google Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sky hook. I mean, I'm sure he missed a few, but man, it just seemed like every time it was nothing but the net, and it was indefensible, as you said.
Well, the thing is that it's a finesse shot, and you mentioned Jerry West and the underhand free throws. It's a finesse shot. And there's so much machismo and, that's not cool. It's all about image and all that. Look, the sky hook, he started doing that in the 60s. We're talking about over 50 years ago. He started working on the sky hook. The thing about the sky hook is that if you're a big center, let's say you're a 7-footer and you're down on the low block with the ball, and of course you got a 7-footer guarding you, then currently without the sky hook, you have a couple options. You can, fade away jumper. You can try a little fake left, go right, power move. But the point is that the defender has a chance to block it. He has a chance to make it difficult on you. With the sky hook, because you're barring, that front arm is being barred, and then you're going up and shooting the ball at the highest point, releasing it at its highest point. Like, as you mentioned, I'm sure it's maybe gotten blocked a couple times in Kareem's career, but not very often. And so you can get that shot off against any type of defender. Even if you're a smaller defender going against a bigger one, you can probably get that shot off. And then, oh, by the way, it's got a little touch to it. It might, doesn't have to always be complete net. I agree with you, Tommy, especially big guys that are always trying to find post moves and trying to create some sort of, post offense. I don't know why. Robert Parrish had a mini sky hook. He had kind of created his own little thing. But since and I guess with the 3-point shot, worrying about low post offense has gone the way of the DeLorean. People just don't care anymore. It's all about the 3-point shot.
Well, and you would think there'd be some big guys who, and I can't even think of one, who were kind of middle of the road big guys, bounced around a little bit. Well, if they could have added that, maybe A, they stick around longer, B, they get some more playing time, some more minutes. I don't know, but that's one of the mysteries in basketball. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a macho thing, and certainly the underhand free throw by Rick Barry, the granny style. But Jabbar, and I guarantee you, if somebody paid Jabbar, he'd work with him to teach him, hey, this is how you do it, Because didn't Dale Brown bring Jabbar into LSU to work on that? I want to say with Shaq or maybe Stanley Roberts, and said, hey, let's try this. So Coach Brown knew it could be a weapon.
Stanley might have been around still. I don't think he was. I think he was already gone. But I remember being in the dorm at LSU, being in Broussard Hall for lunch, and they had the athletic dining table in there, and going in there for lunch, and at the buffet next to me at the salad bar was Bill Walton, and then like the next week it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I want to say it was LA Gear. LSU wore like LA Gear shoes one year or something, when the high tops, when that was a thing. And they were they were sponsored by LA Gear. It was either LA Gear or Reebok or something, but for some reason LA Gear sounds up. It could have been Reebok or somebody, but they came like in about a 2-3 week span. It was Bill Walton and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, which are two of the greatest centers ever to play, which was really cool in the early 90s. And they came to work with Shaq on various, post play and post moves. But Shaq's talked about this story, as bad as he was shooting free throws throughout his career, and he had good moments. Every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut. Against BYU in Shaq's final game in college, he went like 11 for 11 or 13 for 13 from the free throw line. So he's had his moments. And one year in the NBA with the Lakers, he shot over 60% when Kapalopoulos or whatever, the former LSU basketball player from the early 70s who became a great artist and designed all the floors, painted all the basketball floors, and won a bunch of shooting contests and all that. He worked with him. I can't remember. I think that he had a Greek last name. It
was Palubinskas.
Yeah, Palubinskas. He worked with them with the Lakers. They hired him, the Lakers did, for a year. He had his highest free throw shooting numbers ever, and then the Lakers got rid of him. And then Shaq's free throw numbers.
And I've read stories where, when Shaq would be at practice with the Lakers, the end of practice, half the guys are gone. They say he'd stand up there and hit 20, 25 in a row from the free throw line. But it's like, Ronnie, when you and I go to the driving range in golf, man, we hit some sweet shots. We hit some pretty ones. If I could hit it like that, I'd be on TV all day. But then can you transfer it to the course? Well, obviously Shaq couldn't transfer the free throw line from the practice facility to the court.
Well, and Shaq talked about, I was getting to the whole Shaq story to say that he talked about the Jerry West underhand free throw, and he did it in practice a bunch, and they talked to him about it. But for him, he could not get over the fact that it was too feminine and it was underhand and all that. But if had Shaquille O'Neal just committed to the underhand free throw shooting for one season, probably his numbers would have gone up, right? And if Shaq would have done it, you'd have seen an explosion, and everybody, it would have been cool. It would have been fine. If Shaq would have just said, you know what, I'm bigger than anybody in the world right now in basketball outside of Michael Jordan, if I do it, it's going to be cool. Whatever Shaq does is going to be cool. If he would have said, you know what, guys, I'm not a great free throw shooter, but if I do it this way, my percentage goes from 55 to 75. Nobody would have had a problem with it. And you know what? Tons of other people would have shot free throws like that.
Well, the bottom line is make the free throw. If you got to do the sky hook from the free throw line, that's what you do. I mean, the operative word there is free. They're giving you a free chance to put a point on the board. You got to be able to make it. And for some reason, it's just, the guys that can't do it. I think it's a pressure. It's a mental. It's whatever, All
right, the oldest guy on TikTok, I know you're not a big sports bettor on basketball, but you got a prediction. The NBA Finals starts tomorrow. The Greek Freak banged up, didn't play the last two games in the Eastern Finals.
The Suns are they're a favorite in the series. Okay, they're favored to win the series. Rather heavily, they're a 5.5-point favorite on Tuesday night. I'm kind of pulling for the Bucks. My parents are from Wisconsin. I got a couple of cousins that are big Milwaukee Bucks and Brewer fans and Packer fans, and I'm going to kind of pull for the Bucks. My mother's cousin used to be the general manager of the Bucks in the early 70s. So I'm going to pull for the Bucks. I just hope it's a good series. Maybe it goes 6 or 7 games. Injuries will probably play a role. We don't know if Giannis is going to play, Chris Paul. I mean, that's going to be part of the story, but both teams are going to have to run 5 guys out there and play basketball. So, I'm curious. I'm going to pull for the Bucks, but I'd give the slight edge. I'd go with the wise guys and give the slight edge to Phoenix, especially in game 1.
Well, the unknown with Giannis makes this tough, right, to go ahead and bet the series. But even if he does play, right, he's not going to be 100%. So I'm going to go with the Suns. They are on fire right now. They're with the storyline with Chris Paul, they're rested. They've got 2-3. They've got at least 2 players that can get a shot off against anybody. I think it's going to be a very evenly matched series, Tommy. I would be shocked if this thing doesn't go 6 at least. I don't see anybody sweeping this. But I'm pulling for Phoenix, no doubt about it. Obviously living out there back in the 90s and stuff. That's next to the Suns. That's next to the Celtics, rather. That was my favorite team back then. So I'm pulling for the Phoenix Suns. It'd be great for them to get one. And I'd like to see Chris Paul get a championship. Major League Baseball All Star teams come out. And how about this, Tommy? No DJ LeMahieu, no Alex Bregman. I'm shocked by that. But congratulations to Kevin Gausman, who kind of has had a bounce-back year in his career. He's with the Giants now. He kind of fizzled out a little bit in Baltimore, had some good moments in Atlanta, and then all of a sudden, man, he has figured it out in San Francisco. And the former LSU Tiger, who's from Colorado, who hit 100 one time, a couple of times when he was an LSU Tiger back in 2011-12, has just pitching great. He's found that splitter that's been just awesome this year.
Yeah, Gausman's having a career year. I mean, like you say, he bounced around a little bit. He'd throw real well, and then he'd get lit up. I mean, he couldn't get consistent. He's gotten consistent with the Giants this year. He deserves to be an all-star, and he is one. Little surprise. I mean, LeMahieu and Bregman they're probably right on the border of getting in there, but they didn't get in there. I looked up Aaron Nola's numbers before we got the video rolling. He's not an all-star numbers this year. He did have the 10 straight strikeouts to start a game, but that's not going to get you in an all-star game. That would be one of the fluff things that gets you in the all-star game. Like Wade Miley threw a no-hitter, but a lot of people have thrown a no-hitter, and I mean, his record's not sparkling enough, although it's good to be there. But tip of the hat to Kevin Gausman. And Ronnie, it kind of leads me to LSU coach Jay Johnson. He took time on Twitter to congratulate Gausman. He retweeted the Giants post about congratulating Gausman. Then he congratulated Chris Bryant, who he had recruited to San Diego State. So, Jay Johnson, Paul Mainieri, to my knowledge, was never on Twitter. Jay Johnson looks like he'd be pretty active, and I think that's good. Back to the All-Star game. It's in Denver, week from tomorrow. Out there, they'll have the home run derby. History made, if you want to, with the fact that, Shohei Ohtani was named as a DH and a pitcher. His manager, Joe Madden, wants him to do both in the All-Star game. That remains to be seen. He's a heck of a player. The team's not real good. They're about 500, 9 or 10 games out of first. But, so I'll watch the All-Star game. It's become very commercialized, but I'll watch it, and let's hope, depending on how the rotation goes, that Gosman can get in an inning or so.
Isn't that unbelievable that the Angels have Ohtani and Trout? Okay, they arguably have the two best players in Major League Baseball, and have had in Trout the best player for many, many, many years, and still just can't get over the hump. Not even close to getting over the hump.
They're not close. Trout's been hurt this year, and he hadn't played in a while. But I mean, it's a mystery in a way. And if they get Trout back, who knows? I mean, they're what, 9.5, 10 games out right now of first place. And I don't know how far they're back from the wild card thing, but that is a little bit of one of those things you look at and go, really? How could, with them two guys? But one guy, two guys don't win a game, don't lose a game. You got to have a team. You got to have pitching. You got to have the bullpen. Get a little lucky some days, and perhaps that just hadn't been in the cards for the Angels.
Yeah, Mike Trout expected to be coming back fully healthy about now. So All-Star game going to be in Colorado, supposed to be in Atlanta. Politics reared its ugly head, and they pulled it because somehow it's racist to show your ID to go vote. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. But anyway, by the way, I have to show my ID to get on a plane. I have to show my ID to check out a book at the library. But anyway, what else we got, Tommy? What else is going on in the world of sports here that we haven't touched on? I had Mike Scarborough on TigerBait.com on Saturday on Sports Shorts Daily, which, by the way, Sports Shorts Radio, which this Saturday morning, 10 to noon, will be at Roosters Men's Grooming Center. We were at Calandro's this past week, and he was talking about recruiting in the month of June for LSU football, how the Tigers currently have about 12 players committed for their upcoming class that'll be this December, and that he expects that August is going to be a giant month for LSU, that they'll probably get a number of commitments in August. But because June was completely wide open, normally it's not. Normally it's a shut month, but you can host recruits and take official visits and all that. That a lot of recruits that LSU was in on were taking official visits and things like that. But they expect at the end of July, get into August, it's going to be you're going to see a lot more LSU commitments. Currently, LSU's top 5 in all the polls in the upcoming recruiting class. But they did get a commitment from a lefty kicker, so that David Browndyke is, we'll have another one. David Browndyke was a great kicker for LSU in the 80s. Now we'll have another left-handed kicker that's committed, that's coming from the state of Michigan. Was that something you ever did, Tommy? Were you a kicker ever? Did you ever try that?
Actually, if I can, for a moment, playing intramural football at Southeastern, I could punt better than anybody, and place kick was pretty darn good. And Oscar Lofton actually wanted me to come out and try out for a punter for the football team, because they were telling him, man, this guy's nailing some rockets, perfect spiral, turning over. And but then I was on baseball scholarship, so you couldn't play football, and he didn't have a football scholarship, and it never did materialize. I actually went with the team from Southeastern with Greg Staniford and a bunch of guys to the National Flag Football Tournament, which was at UNO. They brought, and you had to kick off and punt, as opposed to in the rec league at Southeastern, you didn't kick off the tee. Right. They put me on the team just to kick. In the national tournament, we were national runner-ups, and I punted several of them out in the coffee corner and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I had, I was an amateur, but I was a little better than some at punting the football.
You needed to have Joel Davis on that team. He's Mr. Flag football.
Well, I tell you what, you talked to Greg Staniford, and look, I didn't know anything but kick, but they had some guys. Greg was unbelievable. 6'5" lefty, could throw the football, and he was the run and shoot before they had it. He was air raid before they had it. I mean, they had some unbelievable players on a Southeastern team many years ago.
Jay Johnson, you really think he does the tweeting himself? You mentioned how he's been active on social media.
The message to Chris Bryant was personal in nature. It didn't look like the secretary did it or the director of baseball ops did it. I'm thinking, he's 44. What's Maneri's 64? So, I mean, he might just be a little more in tune to that. And, I started following him as soon as his name come up when it was Coach Jay at Arizona, and I started following him. And then when he changed the handle to Coach J LSU, I was automatically still following him. So as I scrolled back through his thing, I think he's doing it now. Is he going to do it in March and April and in the middle of the season? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But I think he's doing it because, and especially now at NIL, right? I mean, that's going to be part of recruiting. You're talking about that LSU football recruiting. We're only 5 days into the NIL, but that's going to play a role. I've read a lot of stuff. Like I said, I had a little head cold over the weekend. I didn't go anywhere. I read a lot of stuff. I mean, this stuff, it's the Wild West without a sheriff, like we said, and it's going to play a big role in recruiting. I retweeted the thing this morning that Glenn West wrote about the LSU is ahead of everybody on NIL with the billboard in Times Square in New York and some of the other things they're doing. And if that helps recruiting, then so be it. And, LSU football and baseball, and of course, I'm sure Will Wade, it's going to get nuts, Ronnie. It's really going to get nuts.
By the way, it is official. We talked about it all last week, but it's official now that Jacob Berry, the All-American from Arizona, is transferring to LSU. He had 352 with 17 homers and 70 RBIs, actually teammates with Dylan Cruz on one of the USA teams this summer, and they both homered yesterday, by the way, as their team won, and Berry went 3 for 4 with a homer and a double. When it comes, I know right now, I talked to some friends of mine over there connected to the University of Arizona, and they're not happy with him right now. They're not happy with Jay Johnson because he's taking players, right? He already flipped a recruit, a big-time shortstop out of California that was going to Arizona, now coming to LSU. He took their best player off the team. A number of players have gone in the transfer portal from the University of Arizona. Not that they're all going to come here, but they're bitter with him. They're not happy at all. They're pretty angry. And I remember Paul Maneri being very angry with Andy Cannizaro when Andy Cannizaro left LSU to be the head coach at Mississippi State a few seasons ago, and he flipped Tanner Allen, who was this past year's SEC Player of the Year. Tanner Allen was supposed to come to LSU, ended up going to Mississippi State. He flipped him the day before the signing day. And there was sort of a gentleman's agreement verbally that was made between the two that he wouldn't mess with any of the recruits that were coming here. What's your takeaway on rules and all that sort of thing?
I just think it's part of it. I mean, if it's unfortunate for one school, real good for the other. And if you're on the short end of the stick, you don't like it. If you're benefiting, like LSU will benefit by having Jacob Berry on the baseball team, then you like it. So it's kind of like the old football recruiting thing. People get mad when a kid from Louisiana would go wherever. Oh, he's got to stay in Louisiana. Well, no, he don't, because look how many kids have come across the state line into Louisiana to play for LSU and became great in all sports. I mean, every track and field. I mean, everything. So, I mean, it's part of it. It's kind of like you was talking about the other day. If the guy's in your dugout, it's okay. If he's in that other dugout, you don't like it. Same analogy right here. If you're LSU, you like it. Arizona's bitter, and they lost a coach that was doing well for them, and I'm sure they planned on trying to keep for a while. That's just part of it. I'm not going to cry over it, spilled milk. I mean, it happens, and if you're on the short end of the stick, you don't like it. If it benefits you, then rah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I can see both sides of the coin. I mean, I think in this day and age with the transfer portal, Tommy, you have to be aggressive. You can't be passive. You can't sit back and wait. You just got to go for it.
Well, that brings up a point. When Urban Meyer got to Ohio State to coach football in the Big Ten, there was this unwritten rule in the Big Ten that if Ronnie Rantz committed to Wisconsin and you were the Ohio State coach, you stopped talking to him. Right. Like a gentleman's thing. And Urban Meyer said, that ain't going to work. I'm going to keep recruiting. And it ruffled some feathers at first, because he was breaking the gentleman's agreement. But like you said, if you sit around, and if Urban Meyer wouldn't have broke that agreement, he might not have had the success at Ohio State. Recruiting never ends until that kid's name is on the dotted line. And so, how many kids have we seen flip at the last minute or have an offer pulled 2 days before signing period?
Right.
I mean, it's the ugly part of it, but it is part of it.
He's Tommy Krysan. He's in the Tremonti's Meat and Seafood Studios. All right, I'm going to give you a little look, TK, of where we're at here today. It's not as pretty as you would like to see.
Wow.
But we are right here on the beach. We are literally, I don't know, maybe 100 yards west or east of Floribama. We can literally walk to Floribama.
Well, you need to get with Jan Gallo. You might be at Papa Rocco's this week. Who knows? Hey, tomorrow I'll be out at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, approximately 10 a.m. We want everybody to join us. And as we always say, like and share this video. It really helps us out. We're going to be kicking it up a few notches in the fall because football is going to be here. But, like and share it. Follow Sports Sorts on YouTube. I've been sharing that over on Twitter. It really helps everybody involved, from our sponsors to Ronnie and I and all that good stuff. And Tremonti
keeps us on the air.
Huh?
Keeps us on the air.
Yeah. And we'll be at Court Street Cafe, Port Allen tomorrow with Jason and the staff about 10 a.m. So have some fun with it and share it for us. It really helps, and we appreciate the comments, all that good stuff. Let's keep it all rolling. Let's make Sports Shows Daily get better every day.
All right, he's Tommy Krysan. I'm Ronnie Rantz. Have a great one, everybody. We'll